The Lord is good. The Lord is good. Hello, my people. How una they do? Nice to speak to you once again. Here I am, man. Boom, yes. So we have something interesting to talk about today once again. So make una join me. Please do share this video as soon as you come in. Let's share the good news, man. Let's see who bust in first. And besides, happy Sunday to every one of you. Today, a lovely Sunday. Knows the sun is shining. I hope the sun stays like that, though, which is not very normal. Okay, so that means, oh, Faustina, Cynthia, God bless you. At least your comment happens to be the first one I saw. And Faustina, Cynthia, God bless you. Sophia, God bless you. Igbenidu Osas, God bless you. So invite your friends, invite your acquaintances, and let them come so that we can share this very few little information together. One love. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I really appreciate having all of you in the house. Yeah, please share. Let me also share to our pages. Okay, just a moment, please. God bless you for that. Mhm. It's been a long time we've not spoken, Abi. Person they busy, easy. So just give me some time. Let me also quickly share, and you do the same, eh? Please, make una help me share this video. Don't forget to put like. Don't forget to thumbs up the video. So that it will be recommended to other people to benefit from this very gist this morning, yeah? That's number one. So we are still sharing, folks. We just started. We've not done anything. We've not said anything yet, but we just still sharing. Share. And let us gist, man. I hope you all guys seeing the topic we want to talk about, yeah? I'll come to that very soon. Come to that. So I have shared those places. So let's see which other place I haven't shared yet. Let's see this. Uh-huh. So I have shared myself. So make sure you do your own sharing. No, make una share them. Make una share the broadcast so that everybody go understand. Right. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you all for joining me this morning, and good afternoon, good evening, respectively. Okay. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you joining me once again this morning. It's been a long time we've not really spoken regarding um, the Bible studies we always normally do on Sundays, but today is not outrightly going to be a Bible study, but it is also a very good Sunday medicine that will be able to help us to understand certain things about what is going on around us, and when people behave, then you'll be able to put it in perspective and understand exactly why are these people beginning to manifest in such and such manner, and what could be the issue or what could be the reason for such a behavior. When you see people behaving, whether well behaved or misbehaving or awkward behaving, so it is good for us to have an understanding and know why are these people doing these things they are doing, or why this behavior or why the other behavior. This is a general teaching. This is a teaching and a lecture, okay? I want you to prepare your heart as if you are in a lecture class so that you can understand a whole lot of things what I'm talking about today, and be able to place certain things into their own perspective and grant yourself a good understanding about you dealing with your neighbors, dealing with your colleagues, dealing with the general public, wherever you are. When you see certain characteristics of some people, when you see some action, what people are doing, you will be able to place it and know, this is an indication of mental instability, or this is an indication of somebody who is trying to do one or two things, as the case may be. So that is actually what we are all about this morning, folks. Okay. And by the way, how has your weekend been? Angela Fidelis, Queen Love, Stella Ujo, God bless you all for coming in. Please still continue to share this very broadcast so that we all can generally and collectively enjoy this very gist this morning. Yeah. So before we continue, ladies and gentlemen, let us commit this whole thing into the hands of the Lord so that I will not have to speak of my own self, but the Lord God Almighty will grant me an utterance to be able to speak with you, so that what I speak will not be an empty words, but rather will be a very strong, substantial word or teaching that will ultimately change your life and make you a better person of yourself. Or to be honest, that is actually what concerns me, that everybody will be the better of themselves and be able to exacerbate themselves accordingly and do the right thing as it is demanded or expected of everybody. So when somebody is now living in disappointment, then we can begin to think that something is actually wrong. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about indication of mental instability. So if you are just joining us, that is what we have on the menu today. And thank you, Mama Beckmark. Always punctual, always consistent, and always there. God bless all of you. Let's pray. Father, eternal King of glory, I want to say thank you for yet another opportunity granted unto me and to my listeners to listen and for me to speak. Oh Lord, Father, Lord, speak through me this morning. Let your word bless the people that are listening and those that will listen hereafter. And grant me utterance to speak with them, O Lord, that my words will not be vague, but rather well understood by them, O God, and their life will be better. I come against every distraction. I come against everything that is not of you, O Lord, that we want to infiltrate into our discussion this morning. We rebuke them and we reject them in the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're talking about indication of mental instability. So when we look around us, okay, we can already begin to see and understand that not everybody is actually sane. So many insane people are around us, yeah? So many people that have gone cuckoo. According to white people, they say you've gone cuckoo, right? So many people like that lives around us, but we do not understand the situation of their mindset or the situation of their circumstances when it comes to their psychological understanding or mental understanding. Now, mentality is actually what runs and rules mankind. What mentality you have, what mentality you have installed in your mind, and what mentality you believe in, or what mentality makes you as a person, and how do you react, and how do you behave, and how do you do certain things you do. So these things will give us an indication that yes, this person is mentally sound or this person is mentally derailed. I can tell you we've seen so many mentally derailed people on this social media that they are actually not knowing their left from right, and you begin to see their misbehavior. Maybe you may not understand. You think, oh, they are just like that, or they are I don't care people, or they are just doing what they are doing. No, but if you strategically look at it, and if you look at it in a very intellectual way, you will discover that these people are not just misbehaving like this, but it is an indication of a mental instability. They are not stable in their mental well-being. They are not stable in their mental understanding. That is the reason why you see them manifesting the way they are manifesting, or rather doing what they are doing. Very awkward, but in their own eyes is the best thing to do. But we, the spectators, the audience, the people that look at them, we can already see and judge them and conclude that look, these people are actually mentally derailed, and they need some mental understanding, mental inclusiveness to be able to get themselves out of such an awkward behavior and misbehaving of lifestyle, which is also something we need to study, read, understand, and be able to know how to also assist them and get them out of that kind of situation which they are. Not all of these things I want to talk about today or symptoms are present in every case or mental instability. They are not like precedence, they are not like serial, they are not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, they can be at random and they can be sequential as the case may be. So mental instability is when you look into the behavioral attitude of an individual. You will begin to align them to, it is not normal that people behave like this. Then you begin to find what could be the indication of this kind of attitude, of this kind of behavior. What brought this kind of people to behave like this? How come they are not doing the other way round? How come they are not able to properly comport themselves and to do the right thing? Why are they opting for this kind of situation? So these are all mental issues that we also need to talk about. Thank God we have so many mental patients, nurses in the house. They can be able to corroborate with what I'm saying today. And they can also substantiate the fact that yes, of a truth, many of these kind of indication will eventually lead to mental instability, or rather making us to understand and know that these people are actually having to deal with mental instability. The crucial thing to keep in mind, given that there are many disorders linked to this condition. See, there are many disorderliness that certainly leads to the condition of mental instability. Many, thousands of it. So if we continue to name them today, we might not be able to live here. But there are many indications, except that I just fish out few points for us to see, which I think with this you can be able to know that if your neighbor is having this kind of characteristics, or your friend is having these characteristics, or person you know is exacerbating these characteristics, then you already know that this is an indication of somebody who is either gradually moving towards a mental instability situation, or the person has already plunged into mental instability, and such an individual needs an advice, or rather needs help, psychological help, or doctor help, or mental health nurse help to get out of that kind of situation which their mental state of mind has plunged them into. And I hope you understand what I'm trying to establish here, yeah? Each person's symptoms seems different as well. So that means we are all different. So what happens to me that I behave in a way that could be seen as an indication of a mental instability is absolutely different from Mr. B behaving, that you can be able to know that this is a mental of instability. You understand what I mean? So mental instability is in every human being. But the one you exacerbate or manifest is the one that brings about the indication for somebody looking at you to be able to decide whether or whether you are manifesting the case or the issue of mental instability. Yeah? And one of such things we should actually look at, which usually we do not consider that to be a very big problem, is what women use this word much more. They will say constant mood swing. When they talk about mood swing, they refer to their monthly cycle and how irritating they are, and they begin to do things that is not mental instability. That is just a monthly reoccurrence, something that reoccur every month, which is natural, which is part of your nature. But that is what they usually use the word mood swing. When a person is constantly experiencing rapid fluctuating in emotion. So women, I'm not talking about your monthly cycle mood swing. No, I'm talking about the general mood swing that you find people having to, like, when you see somebody experiencing a rapid fluctuation about emotion very often, In the morning, he's happy. In the afternoon, very sad. In the evening, doesn't want to speak to nobody else, doesn't want anybody to come close. Then these are what we see. The constant mood swinging is not a natural phenomenon anymore. It is not a natural occurrence. It's not a natural happening anymore. It is becoming something that needs an attention of a professional to be able to reverse that constant mood swing that such an individual. And I would tell you, not only women having or rather experiencing this mood swing, no, all human being does. That is why I separate it from the mood swing women experience monthly is different from the mood swing which I am actually trying to explain to you. So this mood swing, when it is too constant and it is too often, then we are actually seeing some signs of mental illness. It is not a physical illness. It is not an illness that you needed a normal doctor to actually administer some medication to you or administer some whatever to you. Administer any medication or injection to you. No, that's not what it is. But this is happening within your mind. The system or the way you comport yourself, or rather what you build up in your own mind, that is what brought about your constant mood swing. So it has nothing to do with the natural phenomenon or the natural thing that revolve every month. But no, this one is different, because if we talk about natural monthly natural monthly happenings, then we don't have to involve men, because men do not have monthly cycle going on with them. So in other words, we could say mood swings is only secluded to the women, but in this case it's not true. When you begin to have mood swing of that nature, then you will find out that that person is having mental illness. Mental instability can cause a person to be emotionally unstable. They can be happy one minute and the other minute they are very sad. That is mood swing. In fact, it's like when cool breeze blow, oh, I feel good. But when the hot one blow, then you complain and nag everybody around you out. You see, constantly it will swing. Then you begin to, maybe you might say, how does that bothers me now? It bothers because it starts from the little thing and it will escalate to the bigger thing. That is how it always works when it comes to mood swing and instability. Mood swing are common, but the only difference between an average person's of mood swing and mentally unstable person in that is that that person with an underlying mental health issue will know obvious reason for this constant mood swing. Now, what I'm saying is that it happens. You can be happy at some point, and the other point you feel like I'm not too happy. Yeah, it's a natural thing. But when it becomes a natural ill, when it becomes a mental instability, it is no longer natural. It is no longer being triggered by the development or the movement of your body. No, it has to do with the natural mental stability. But in this case, it has become instability. That is why you cannot be predicted you are going to be happy in the afternoon. You can't be predicted you will be happy in the evening. So when you begin to find people close to you having this kind of constant mood swing, today they are laughing, the next moment they are very sarcastic, then you begin to know that is one of the indication. That's one of the indication of mental instability. Then people with mood swing usually, that's number 2 point I want to bring. People with mood swing usually comes up with withdrawal. They withdraw themselves from activities. They withdraw themselves from their best friend. They even withdraw themselves from their spouse. It could be you withdrawing from yourself from your husband, or you withdrawing yourself from your wife. So you begin to see this very attitude, which is very not normal. Withdrawal from friends, family, social activity might be a sign of mental illness, especially when there is no reason behind this. You simply see you simply see somebody secluding himself from an activity, things you loved doing before, things that were the things that is particular to you before, things that they know you for before. You begin to find yourself constantly withdrawing yourself from it, and you are no longer doing it. So based on that kind of attitude, you begin to find out that, oh, this guy having this kind of sudden withdrawal, something might be wrong with him. It can happen to children, it can happen to teenagers, it can happen to adults, and it can happen to just anybody else. So when you are very attentive and you are very understanding, you will be able to fish it out that this sudden withdrawal from activity is not normal. This sudden withdrawal from family, from friends, from activity, from the things that were particular to you before. And now you find yourself not able to do them, or rather not even willing to do them, or not having any interest whatsoever to do any of such things. Then that is one of the indications of mental instability, because everything that does make sense to you in time past, when you were not exercising or rather exacerbating this very action or rather attitude or characteristics, you find yourself now withdrawing yourself from all those things that once gave you joy and interest. Then that is a very big indication of somebody who is experiencing mental instability. Yeah. Number 3 of this one is paranoia. This is a very unhealthy pattern of thinking that ranges from mind feelings of nervousness to intense suspicion. See, paranoia is not like when you are angry. No. Paranoia ranges from suspicious, from developing patterns that are very unhealthy with yourself, or trying to say things that will even get your neighbor confused and say, what the hell is he talking about? Or what do you mean, man? What are you talking about? I don't understand what you're talking about. So things like that are originating from paranoia. It's not like you are just only angry. No, your paranoia will bring about you trying to bring about things that are never existing. You want to make sure that somebody understands your very awkward and archaic philosophy, things that do not make any sense, things that do not even exist at all, things that is not plausible. You will end up trying to make whoever is discussing with you or people around you to believe that such a thing actually does exist. These are all indications of anybody who is suffering from mental instability. So when you notice this in any person, anybody, it could be friend, it could be your spouse, it could be the children, it could be your community where you belong to, it could be your colleague at work, then begin to know that this is a very strong indication of a mental instability, that this person is gradually having some illness mentally. Bodily, you may not see that. He may not emaciate, he may still look good, dress fine, makeup, look good, but with these very indications, with this very attitude and characteristics this person possesses and exacerbate daily, you can be able to deduce the fact that this person is gradually having some indication of mental instability. A paranoid person is prone to distressing thoughts that put their mental health at risk. Like I said just now, paranoia people come up with philosophy that does not exist. And they will try to make that philosophy understandable by others who are not in the same state of mind with them. By the time that person is not understanding, or maybe put up an argument or need more clarification of what you are trying to say, then the person will become even much more frustrated and paranoid. Why? The mental state of that person has been virused. The mental state of that person has been damaged. So anything he says, he is expecting you to agree and say yes. But to you listening to him, it is a very strange thing totally, that normal human beings don't come up with this kind of issue. But you find somebody trying to make you believe an awkward issue. That is an indication of a paranoia, mental instability person having a conversation with you. And such a thing, when you are not agreeing with the person who is becoming paranoia, or rather who is suffering from mental instability, and that ultimately becomes very unhealthy for that individual. You find out the individual absolutely secluding himself from the society, having this narrative that nobody likes me, everybody hates me, nobody wants to believe in me, nobody listens to me. So everybody, they will be the one singing that very praise and worship, telling everybody that everybody hates them. But the truth of the matter is nobody hates you. It's just that what you are bringing on the table is strange to mankind that is very sane. You are gradually becoming insane. Many unnecessary things are beginning and gradually making sense to you. So based on that, nobody else who is in his own right senses will ever agree with you or side with you. So, so by so doing, you find yourself in a mental paranoia situation, which is not going to be healthy to the person who is exacerbating that kind of attitude or character. This is also a common feeling amongst people, however, for mentally unstable people. That is how they behave. Now, they might still just be a normal human being. They might still be able to keep their job, keep their husband and wife, keep children, everything seems okay. But when you come close with their own understanding, when you come close or rather involving them in any meaningful discussion or conversation, you will find out that their contribution actually throw you to another direction, a very awkward direction, a direction that actually you are not going to accept. Undermining the fact that you are looking for some form of solution. But when you speak to these kind of people, what they throw you out, when they throw you out with their own assertions, then you will not be able to stand your feet. And that ultimately becomes very, very frustrating. And that impacts the lives of those who are already suffering from mental instability. So they will begin to feel, oh, you don't like me, you don't give me attention, you don't want me to speak, you don't want this, you don't want that. So that is actually not the case. But for the fact that they are already becoming unstable in their mental understanding and comportment, then you begin to find them summing up things like that, which are not supposed to be. It is more persistent and dangerous. Paranoid people are unnecessarily defensive and argumentative. They experience irrational fear that makes them unable to relax, and they do not trust nobody. They become paranoia. They can't trust you with information. They can't trust you with any idea. Even if you advise them, they still don't trust you. Even if you tell them, look, this thing you are doing is not okay. Why don't you proportion yourself like this and do it this way? Why don't you do it that way? You will still not be trusted for plenty of reasons why their mental state of mind has plunged them into a suspicious state of mind. They suspect everything. They are very defensive. Even if there is no need to be defending yourself, they will end up defending themselves, so hard that you will be surprised. But there is nothing to defend here. We are just having a conversation. Yes, this is how they behave. And secondly, they put forth unnecessary argument that has no meaning, argument that has no end, very unconstructive argument, meaningless argument that is not viable, uneducative argument. This is what they will set up. Why? Their mental state of mind is no longer working sequentially. It works randomly. And if you find anybody in this kind of state of mind, such an individual needs a psychologist or a professional or a mental health expert to be able to assist them and talk them out of that kind of situation and give them some happy hands. So they need it. Now we have all these kind of people in community, in our families, in at working places, and wherever you belong to. You will always come across people with this kind of attitude. So don't always sideline them. Don't always ignore them. In fact, if there is anything they ever need, they need a lot of help and assistance from you that is very correct and sane upstairs. Yeah. The number 4 we should discuss is delusion. That is a very bad thing. People with mental instability are self-deluded. They tell themselves a lie, they stick to that lie, and they promote the lie, they sell the lie, and they live their life in that self-delusion. So self-delusion is a very big mental unstable. Mental unstable people are usually detached from reality. See, there are reality that many people still tend to argue. They will argue the reality of things that is substantial, that is viable, that is physical, that is verifiable, that everybody have seen. Yet, they will want to convince everybody that that reality is not a reality. Meanwhile, that their delusion is the reality. It's a mental instability. I will give you an example, very example with ourselves. Monica has Range Rover Vela, which we have been using going close to 2 years now. Every eyes have seen it. Everybody knows this car is a vehicle. It's a vehicle and a physical vehicle. You understand me? So when somebody is now telling you that what you have seen that is very sane is not true, that this very physical thing is not true, then understand that such an individual is having mental instability. Something that is true, real, that can be verified by the whole world almost. Only one individual, because that person is self-deluded, self-delusion, and that person is having mental instability, will come and still have the effrontery and the boldness to tell the people that have already known that this thing is real and begin to try to convince them that this thing is not real. That person is a self-delusioned person. And that case is a case of mental instability. Anybody that does that is having mental instability, because you having that self-deluded idea, denouncing the reality, denying reality. You are the only one denying the reality. The people you are telling have accepted the reality and they know the reality. But you, as a self-deluded person, you are denying the reality. You are also trying to convince those that are already convinced about reality, that what they are convinced about is not true. My people, you judge who is deluded here and who is having mental instability here. It is the person who is trying to convince everybody that this thing is not true, when everybody are not blind, they are not stupid, they are not dumb. They see that this thing is true, but you are worrying yourself, busy day in, day out, to disapprove what is true. My people, that kind of antecedent, that kind of action is a mental instability action. Such an individual is having a strong indication of mental instability. Without apology, I'm telling you this, so that when you begin to see people exacerbating their foolishness or they are exacerbating their stupidity, you will begin to know that they are not just only being sarcastic, it is much more than that. They are rather experiencing and suffering from mental instability, and they are self-deluded. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter whether you want to join just to make sure you increase the volume. If you are not careful, you will plunge your own self into that same mental instability situation. That is how it all starts from. So self-delusion is not something we should condone. It's not something we should even join. When somebody is speaking as out of self-deluded idea, the best thing you can do as a very sane person, disassociate yourself from such self-delusioned lies or activity of such an individual. So mentally unstable people are usually detached from reality. They are most in their heads and can be found constantly talking to themselves. Even when they are in the midst of people, they will begin to talk to themselves. They will begin to fight their own mind. They will begin to tell themselves it is not true. the sun is not shining, it is just a shadow. You know, these people no longer have full control. Could you lock this door, please? They no longer have full control of their own personal mind. Rather, the self-delusion that they have plunged themselves in is the one that is actually ruling them and having a strong influence with them. I hope you all guys understand my own illustration. Yeah, I will continue. Then number 5, this a drastic change in eating habits. Drastic change in eating habit is also one factor, or rather one indication to ascertain those who have started being, how do you put it, those who have started being having some mental instability is their way of eating will drastically change. They can eat uncontrollably, or they can even absolutely desist from eating. They are not fasting. No, they are not having any. They are not having any spiritual exercise. They are not fasting. They are not doing anything. But you find them having a very big issue with food. Either they have increased the way they are eating, or they reduce the way they are eating. So there must be a drastic change about eating and what they consume day in, day out. That is why you find some people becoming an alcoholic. Originally, they are not supposed to be an alcoholic. They simply, maybe before they got into this situation, they just drink 1 or 2 glass and they are okay. But because mental instability has crippled in, what they do now is their eating, drinking habit will drastically change. It will change to the worst one, and it will even change to the very good one, we could say. Say, oh, this guy was drinking before, he no longer drinks. Then you think he has changed. No, he is passing through a phase of mental instability. You say, but this guy not shark man before, but how come he's not even drinking again? Is that not awkward? Yes, it is one. Or this guy does not drink before, but now he's suddenly become a drunkard. It's part of it. So it's either this way or the other way. But something must drastically change about the behavioral way of eating and drinking and your consumption of what you feed yourself with. And the number 6 is affinity for violence. It's a mental instability situation that will make some people to either instigate violence, praise violence, support violence, or set up violence unnecessarily. You will find them having to be in a place where there is always problem. That is when they are very happy and feeling fulfilled. Mentally ill people can sometimes be hot-tempered and hostile. Violence can be a way of defending themselves from their delusional fears or a sign of the specific mental illness they are experiencing. Like I said before when I started, that everything I'm saying does not have to happen sequentially. They can happen randomly, yeah? They can happen randomly. But in this case, that when they have affinity for violence, for them, because number 1, mental instability people, they are not self-confident. They do not trust themselves. That is why they are not able to trust anybody else. So when you say a thing, they answer you in violent way, defending themselves. They are very defensive and they are very argumentative. They are very argumentative. They argue, argumentating all the time. They don't believe in it. You say, this is A. They will say, no, this is not A, because it is A. What? I said it's A. You said, no, it's not A, because it is A. Haven't you heard people arguing like that? Yes, I have seen people arguing like that. You hear people, you hear people say, this is this. When you say this is this, they will say, no, it is not that, but this is this. They will rather tell you what is not, they will tell you this is what it is. So at the end of the day, that is how they will end up having to argue about one thing, argue about the second thing. They will argue about everything, and they are always on the defensive side. as if what you are trying to correct them of or what you are trying to say, it is an attack on them. So they see every of your conversation as an attack. They see every of your conversation as if you are willing to usurp authority over them. But that is not the case, you understand? So based on all this, we begin to understand that these are all the indication of those who are now getting, or rather already mentally unstable. It is very important for us to identify them and know them and be able to give them any help we can by either giving them an advice or letting them recognize that they need some part of change in their own life. So I hope you are enjoying the story so far, yeah? I didn't want to keep you that long, yeah? Okay, number 7 of the point I want to see as an indication for you to know and recognize if somebody is behaving like this, or oh, this person is having some mental instability. It might be on a very early stage, it might be in the middle stage, it might be kaput, you know. But these are the things you will definitely find them with. The inability to think rationally, make simple decisions. See, people with instability mentally, they cannot think that much. They cannot think that much. Their rationality is very impaired. So they are not able to rationally, you know, have you in mind, have themselves in mind, and have the entire community in mind before they take their decision. No, that is not what they know how to do. What they do is, it comes to their mind, boom, they carry it out one time, because the ability to actually screen everything that comes to your mind or think if it is right or wrong is no longer there. It's dead already. Why? Their mind is not stable. Their mind is in instability mode. So based on that, their rationality is dead. They cannot rationally live with other people. That is why you find them having to be introduced to a psychiatric home where they can be put under monitoring and medication. Yeah. Inability to cope with normal daily stress and excessive feelings of fear and guilt are also part of mental unstable signs. You find people just begin to, they get afraid of somebody else for no reason. For no reason, they are simply scared of Mr. A or Mr. B. If you closely ask them, what exactly has Mr. A or Mr. B done to you that you are so much resentment about him, or you are so much afraid of him? They will not be able to answer you any meaningful question. Either they will tell you, don't mind them, he thinks he's beautiful, or he thinks he has money. No, what has this person done to you personally? Whatever he thinks of himself is different. But now, what has it done to you that is making you so angry? You don't have any answer to that. So people with such an attitude have some form of mental instability that they need to take out of their heart and begin to do the right thing. Now, did you know people with mental instability are prone to suicidal? Did you know that? They are prone to killing themselves because so long that mental instability is in their heart, nothing makes sense to them. They already feel the society have rejected them. Their friends are not their friends anymore. Their family have also abandoned them. These are the self-delusional things they tell themselves. It's not the reality. To be honest, they are loved. To be honest, they are supposed to be having acquaintances. To be honest, they still have some friends, or even their spouse still love them so much. But because of the self-delusion and because of the mental inconsistency in their own state of mind, they will begin to think of all these very bad things, such as suicidal thoughts. They will begin to think of suicide. And anybody with such a mindset can actually kill somebody else. Why? He has already thought of killing himself. Nothing makes sense to him anymore. So at this stage, it is becoming very dangerous both to the person and to the entire society where this person eventually belongs to. Why? When the suicide thought comes, everything is involved. This involves the desire to take out one's life. Medically, there are two types. Medically proven, there are two types of suicidal thought. Number one, passive suicidal ideation. passive one. They thought about suicide, but they are not actually going to kill themselves, but they felt, that is the first one, they felt doing this thing or getting rid of their own life will end the whole show, will end the whole suffering, will end the whole problem, which actually they will not think about the people that actually love them. They will not think about their children or wife, nor children, or the general community, but they are just focusing on a problem that does not exist. They magnify the problem by themselves, they exaggerated the problem by themselves, and they uplifted that problem and making the problem be what it is. But in the eyes of every other person, that problem may not even make any sense. But the eyes to that who is already mentally derailed will begin to find such thing very important. You know, one of such is a passive suicidal ideation. No, when a person wishes they could die but does not actively plan to take their own life, but they constantly think, oh, they won't die, oh, they won't die, oh. Maybe you may have seen people constantly mentioning such thing. They want that, they want that. It's better to be dead than to be this. But they are actually not going to kill themselves just yet. But it's actually starting from there. They started from there, started saying it. Now, some time ago, we have so not even only one. We have several people making several attempts to jump off Third Mainland Bridge in Lagos, in Nigeria. So if you're not a Nigerian watching me, we have a very popular bridge in Lagos, which is very long and is connected to mainland, from island to mainland together, and it's a very deep sea. Most Nigerians that felt life is finito for them, they usually go there to jump into the river and drown. They will get themselves drowned in that river. So now, before such an individual comes to that conclusion, comes to that decision to go kill himself, they have passed through all the things I am talking about since. But the people around them did not recognize that. People around them did not acknowledge the fact that, look, this is an indication of mental illness. So they should have, in the early stage, assist this guy out of that situation. But nobody knows, because we don't know that this behavior is a behavior that can lead somebody to go into a suicidal decision, until it will escalate to the point that this person will go gaga and run down to the eye of him taking his own life. They will begin to take him serious. But to be honest, if we were very vigilant and if we were very conscious about our friends, brothers, sisters, our neighborhood, or people we ever interact with, we would have already understood that this person is passing through some mental instability situation. So the passive suicidal ideation actually gives birth to the active suicidal ideation. Idea involves active intent and plans to commit suicide. So on this ground, that you begin to find that this person is no longer passively having that idea of suicide. No, the passive has turned to active. Now he is actively really wanting to commit suicide. Why? The whole situation is overwhelming. The whole situation has overcome his heart. He thinks this is the end of it all. He thinks there is no way out. He thinks no help can come from anywhere. So based on that, the only help that makes sense to him, or her in this case, is for him to end it all up by killing his or herself. This is the mental instability we're talking about other people. How can we help our friends, family, spouse, community out of this kind of situation? We should be vigilant. When we begin to see all this indication manifesting in the life of people we are close to, or we interact with, or we have one or two things to do with, then we should begin to do our own part, trying to offer help or trying to assist them, so that what they are currently passing through in their own state of mind is not eventually going to overwhelm them and plunge them into active suicidal ideation. You understand? So mental instability It's always there on daily basis. It's always there. We can see it. We see people manifest it. We see people living like that. Some are worse than the other. Some are mild. Some are very, very acute. So when you recognize this, you have to play your own part, trying to make that person be a better of themselves. What? Talking with them, not in an aggressive way, or suggesting to them to go to a professional to get some professional help. Because professionally, there is a help for people with mental instability. They only need to talk, they only need to express themselves, and they need to do that from time to time interval, and gradually they will begin to see the reality of the life that they are supposed to be living, not that self-deluded way of summing up things or conclusively making assertions that are not there, or rather making yourself believe things that are not reality, that things that are not real. And going further from there, also trying to even not just stopping from there, trying to convince other people that this your deluded reality is the fact. Meanwhile, every other person will look at you and say, are you sure this guy is absolutely correct upstairs? Yes, because what you are saying is not in line with reality of what should be. That is when people begin to think that certain people are having some mental instability or mental derailness, or they have absolutely gone mental sick. So that is why we have mental health nurse. Mental health nurse will tell you much more about this whole thing I have just talked about. I am not a nurse. I'm not a medical personnel, however, but at least common sense will tell you, if you have ever studied books, if you've ever been to university or been to any higher institution, whether irrespective of what you have studied, you must find yourself coming to have an idea about things like this. You must have read them one way or the other. You must have been in a symposium class or any motivational classes where things like this are dealt with. You may have been to symposium where a lecturer will come and begin to educate people based on this whole understanding about how you can be mentally healthy and have a mentally healthy life without being plunged into a self-delusioned way, or having yourself as a human being being unstable mentally. So we also understand that our mentality guides our being, guides our understanding, also guides our existence. Because when we talk about mentality, we have African mentality, how we behave, how we do things, how we believe, and how we run things. And we also have Eurocentric mentality, how the Europeans behave, which is different from Americana, Americana mentality. Americans have their own way of behaving. Africa have their own way of behaving. European does. The Asian and the Middle Eastern, they all have mentality. The way, this is our mentality, this is our way of behaving, this is how we do what we do, this is how we react to certain things when it comes to these things. These are all mentality. Now, mentality of its own is not a bad thing, but when the mentality is becoming unhealthy, then it is worrisome. When it is become unstable, we have consistent mentality that somebody can say, oh, this is how they behave, very consistent. But when it is becoming inconsistent, unstable, becoming instability, then there is a cause for concern that, look, things like this are not supposed to be the way they are. They are supposed to take a different shape and a different form so that it will not plunge into instability when it comes to mentality. Yeah. So today, that is my short admonition so that you understand that these are the indication of mentality. So in case you have a friend or a brother or a sister, or in your own community, you see people behaving this way, you already can know, this person is having some indication of mental instability, because this attitude is not common. This attitude It's not a normal attitude. It's not an appreciable attitude. It's not an attitude that everybody would buy and accept. Why? It is awkward. It is myopic. It is different from what is acceptable. It is unethical. It is uncultural. You understand that? So, ladies and gentlemen, so short. Thank God I'm able to make it precisely 1 hour gist. So, that is just what I have to share this morning. And I hope you all understand and you are blessed with that. So, in case you find yourself having to take some irrational decision and all that, please, you still can deal with yourself in a more proportion way and sit down and say, no, is these things I'm doing actually okay? Self-reflection is very important, because if you reflect back to yourself, you will be able to determine whether what you were doing was okay or not. Then you make the appropriate adjustment as it is required, so that you will not be seen as somebody having an indication of mental instability. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the whole show this morning. God bless you all for joining me, and I really appreciate you joining me. So if you come in the middle of this very teaching, please try to watch the video again. And if you have not shared, please try to share this video. And if you have not liked it, please try to like it. It is very important. So I love you all. God bless you for joining me this morning. And now we've talked about mental instability. By the grace of God, we will continue from there talking about other things. So if time permits me, at the end of the day, I will come and give you update regarding what is happening in the Middle East. You understand that last week Saturday, not just yesterday, but the other upper week Saturday, the people of Palestine, the Hamas, attacked Israel and killed more than 1,700 people. The Israeli retaliated and ended up killing more than 2,000 so far and leveling the whole city of Gaza substantially. What led to that? What brought about that? What made that happen? And why is that? We will discuss it later, and I will show you some disturbing images of what is happening right there so that we can know. And I will tell you, all these things happening in the Middle East are the things that are going to happen first before Jesus returns. These things are going to lead to the coming of the Antichrist, because the Antichrist will come first before Jesus Christ will come. So if you do not know the signs of time, that's why Jesus told us that when you watch the signs of time, you will be able to tell when I will come. So people don't understand, because now it is winter. It is getting cold gradually. We know it is time for winter, isn't it? So when we see the tree beginning to grow leaves, then we will also know, wow, it is autumn time. You understand? So now when Jesus was talking about, when you look at the activities and the issues of Jerusalem and the happening of the whole world, you will be able to have an indication that my coming is near. One thing you should understand is Jerusalem, that will be the cup of trembling to the whole nation. That is where it will all begin. But right now, Jerusalem is relatively very peaceful, but where it's not peaceful is the rest of Israel and the Gaza Strip. Do you think Jerusalem is going to be left out of it? Absolutely not. Other countries are going to attack Jerusalem very soon. Who are these countries? Iran, Russia, Turkey, and the rest of the etc. Sudan will join, unfortunately. Egypt will join. But you know what? God has already promised that this whole army will fight against themselves at the end of the day. So these things are going to lead to the proceeding of those events. So, and it is good for you to be aware and to understand and to be carried along, so that you will not be left out. You understand that? So by the grace of God, maybe before the day runs out, we'll be able to do that. Yeah? Thank you very much, and I appreciate you joining me. And it's my pleasure sharing with you this morning. Shalom.
You sure said this is your topic, not go stick cry for your customer.
Yes, now that is an indication of mental instability. Yeah.
You sure say your customer no can take sex of today.
That is
Say
why.
so how many people that watch you.
Yeah, only mental unstable people will be watching, will be doing all those ones. That is why we are discussing and explaining and know.
I hope you also discuss their cure.
Their cure, they have to work on their own self first. It is their choice to believe their self-told lies. And it is their own choice, it is their choice to make narrative that is inhuman. We cannot help most of those people plunging themselves into a state of mental instability. So it is their own case. There are some who are deliberately there. So whoever wants to cry about that, please cry very well and make sure you have enough tissue to clean your tears. It's your problem. But for those that are blessed this morning, may the Lord strengthen you and bless you and increase your mental health, that you will not end up being like those people Yeki is describing, having mental instability, and they are very stable in their own mind. Bless you, folks. God bless you. I remain one and yours, Daddy Cool. No retreat, no surrender. Oba no they go transfer. I did gidigba. One love. Yeah? Thank you. I'm so happy that you are there for me, man. One love.